Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am. And I have several guests with me today. We are family. Mr. Little Boo Radley is here with me, Pee-Pee is right next to me, and Tucker is sitting on the ottoman. So they decided that they wanted to be in the chair with me today while I was telling the story because it's a very scary story. It's about fear. And, Boo Radley's back there and he is digging into the cushion trying to find the perfect space. So you'll probably hear that as the video goes. When I started this channel in December, I started it because I really wanted to tell stories of my life on here. And, I have watched a lot of YouTubers do stories, and their stories are always these, super extravagant stories like, my mother walked in with me and my sugar daddy, or, the time I hired a hooker, or I got stabbed in the leg, or, they're always these, like, over-the-top story times that there's, like, there cannot be any truth to it whatsoever, or the title is clickbaity as hell, and it's not really anything to do with that. And they end up getting, 500,000 views, and people go to watch it, and I don't know why people stay, because after one video, I'm like, oh no, if this is what your channel's about, like, I'm bored, right? So I was like, I want to start just telling stories on here that are, like, true, and I don't know, stories that I would tell with my friends that aren't super exciting. They don't have huge clickbaity titles and stuff like that, but they're things that have happened to me in my life. And so today I was rendering my movie that I'm uploading for my other channel, and while I was doing it, I was sitting on the front porch. It's a gorgeous day outside. I'm in a fantastic mood. My husband's getting ready to come home from work, and we're gonna have dinner and just watch some TV. And so I was sitting outside and I was watching videos on my phone. Now people ask me a lot. They're like, who do you watch on YouTube? And the question shouldn't be, who do you watch? The question should be, what do you watch? Because it's interesting. I have like maybe 5 to 10 YouTubers that I consistently watch all of their videos. But other than that, like, it's really more about the topics that I watch. And a lot of people might not know this if you don't listen to my vlog, but like, I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, right? I listen to Coast AM, I read the books. On top of that, I also love true crime. And one thing that I am obsessed with is anything to do with space and anything to do with the ocean. Because for me, I feel like they're the two great unknowns that we really don't know a whole lot about. And so I'm always really interested in that. And I will also say, and I know I'll lose a lot of people right here, although this is not what the video is about, I'm really open-minded to anything. Like if tomorrow we found out that Atlantis really existed, I would be super excited, Or if I found out that, UFOs were coming to the United States, like I would want to know about that if they were here to be friendly, hopefully. But, I am pretty open-minded to anything. I mean, I'm like, okay, I'll believe anything, right? And so I kind of love to get excited about that stuff and hear about it and read about it. And so that's a lot of what I watch videos about. I know it's corny, but it kind of makes me escape. And I watch, the time traveler videos. If you've watched the time traveler videos, they're just absolutely ridiculous, okay? I mean, they are these people that say that they traveled like 1,500 years in the future and they come back, but they're sitting there, with like regular clothes on. They're hilarious. But, I won't say that I don't believe at least one of them. There's at least one out there that I kind of believe. And then I also watch, videos about like alien spottings and like UFO spottings and things like that. And if you've ever seen the videos that are like footage from NASA when they're in outer space and you can see like the things shooting, those are so spooky, right? Or the Dark Side of the Moon. Not the Pink Floyd song, but what's really on the dark side of the moon. So like I watch all of those videos and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I watch a lot of, okay, and I'm kind of obsessed with, and if you've watched my vlog or you've heard my husband talk about it, it won't be a surprise to you. But I talk a lot about my biggest fear, or I watch a lot of what my biggest fear is, and that is sharks. I am obsessed, but also deathly afraid of sharks. Sharks are hands down my biggest fear in the entire world. And so I wanted to kind of share with you guys about how that fear started. And, it's interesting because like my husband, he constantly is sending me like, he'll tag me on Instagram and he'll like text me and be like, go look at your Instagram, and then he'll like tag me and it'll be like a video of like the shark coming out of the water 5 feet from the beach. But then when we go to the beach, he wonders why I don't want to go in the water and I'm terrified, right? It's because he constantly is sending me these videos. And it was interesting because when I'm uploading videos, you know, during the day, at the end, I like turn on a horror movie. Horror. Whenever I say that, people think I'm saying a different word, which I'm not. But I'll always put on a scary movie. And all of the Jawses right now are like on demand. And so the other day I was like, oh, I don't know. Not in this. I can watch it in the winter because I'm not going anywhere that's going to be a beach, where there's going to be a beach. But I was like, I don't know. I might not even want to go in the pool if I watch Jaws. Which is funny because I know literally, like, I think there's like 5 Jawses total. I know all of them by heart, you know? Okay, wait. Jaws 1, okay, is Jaws 2 is the sailboats. Jaws 3 is 3D at SeaWorld. Jaws 4 is, I think, Jamaica. And it's with the mom, and she ends up killing the shark at the end of it. Is there a Jaws 5? I think there's only 4 Jawses. And there's all these spin-offs, right, of like different kinds of like shark attack movies. I watch them all. I literally watch them all. The scariest for me are like the open water ones that are very realistic, like, and you see somebody like dunk. Okay, so I talked about this on here not too long ago, but I'm gonna tell the story again. So this is why it is my biggest fear, okay? When I was a little kid, I loved to swim. I would swim like way into October, and I think I actually maybe have done this entire story time before, so if I have, I apologize. It's a different spin on it. It's like, you know, hearing the same song at a concert twice, I guess, but, or at different concerts. So anyway, when I was a little kid, I loved to swim. I mean, like, from a very young age, my dad, the way that I learned how to swim, like, I'm a really good swimmer, I'm an avid swimmer, I love to swim, and I love to get in the water. When I was a little kid, like, at 2 years old, my dad would, like, put my arms around his neck, and then he would, like, dive under the water in pools and stuff like that. And so I don't even remember learning to swim, I just always knew how to swim. And both of my parents were huge, like, water freaks and loved to be in the water and boating and swimming, pools and all that kind of stuff. The problem was, as an only child, I learned to play in a pool for hours by myself. Like, I would invent games, I would dive for pennies, I would like be like, okay, you have to make it to this side and back in so much time. I loved diving boards. I would come up with competitions in my head of things I had to do. I was very imaginative and inventive as an only child, and I played a lot in pools because I loved to swim, and it was easy in the summer, you know? My dad would just sit there and read a book or drink a beer or whatever. And my mom actually, both of my parents got in the water a lot with me, but my mom really did, and she would like play games and stuff like that. We used to play this game where we would pull our leg back and you had to like yank the other person and pull them into the water. To get me out of the pool, okay, my dad, I would swim for like 3 hours, and he calls me Pete, and he would be like, come on Pete, let's go, it's time to go, whatever. And I'd be like, no, just Dad, like 10 more minutes. He'd be like, okay, we've been here for 3 hours, it's 10 o'clock at night, it's getting cold outside, we need to go. And I'd be like, no Dad, right? I was like pruned. And so anyway, finally what he would do is he would stand by the edge of the pool. This is like, I look back on this and I'm like, it's funny, but it's kind of really cruel too. And he would go, da 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 da. Da, 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 da. And I would be out of that pool in like 2 seconds flat, right? So then, flash forward, I've talked a lot about this on here too, but my dad had, I think maybe actually more on my vlog, my dad is a sailor, he loves to sail, and so he sailed all through the Caribbean and other places, but most of the time he kept a boat in Saugatuck, Michigan, and so we would go and we would sail, you know, like out in the middle of Michigan. We spent every weekend there in the summers and stuff like that. And we would go out there, and one time my cousin Caroline and I were up there with him for the weekend, and we were out in the middle. Now, if you don't know, Lake Michigan is extremely deep. It's like 200-300 feet deep in some areas, and it's very choppy, and it looks like the ocean, and it's ice cold, right? So we're by one of those buoys out in the middle of nowhere, and like, I don't know, like a mile out or something, and my dad had just gotten this like Betamax video recorder, and so he wanted us to like jump in the water. I think at the time I was probably like 8, and my cousin Caroline she's 3 years older, so she was like, what, 11? I don't have my glasses on. I can't do math. 8 to 9, 9 to 10 to 11. I seriously am so bad at math. So anyway, so yeah, like 8 and 11, something like that, you know, 7 and 10. And so he had us go out there into the water, and he was like, okay, now act like, you know, Jaws is coming, and he's like pulling you down. Do you remember the scene at the beginning of Jaws when the girl gets pulled down by the buoy and she's holding on to it? And then he like starts getting pulled this way and that way. Well, I'm in the water, okay, and I'm like bobbing with my cousin, so our heads are facing each other. Well, Caroline starts doing all this, going underneath like, and she's like acting like she's getting pulled this way and that. I'm like, all of a sudden, I like panicked, right? And I was like, oh my God. And I was out of the water like instantly, because I was like, it just seemed so real to me. As I grew up, like my dad, when he moved into his new house, he built a house after he got divorced from my mom, and he had a pool, and they were also on the lake. I would never get in the water because of the lake because I couldn't see the bottom. And to this day, if I cannot see the bottom of a lake or in an ocean or anything, I won't get in it. And number two, I swam, every day in the summer at my dad's pool. I loved it. I swam out there by myself a lot. But at night, like if I swam and the light was turned off in the pool, I would look down and the light at the end of the pool looked like a big black shark eye to me, and I would get out of the pool. I'm talking 16 years old. I would not swim by myself because I was so terrified of that. It just looked like a shark eye to me. And I know, I tell people this story, like Alex's brother Carlos, my brother-in-law, he laughs his ass off. He's like, you thought a pool light was I said, I just couldn't do it because my mind was so screwed from being afraid for all these years, right? And then flash forward to, I think I was like 22 or 23, and I took a trip with my dad and my stepmom and my boyfriend at the time, and we went to Grand Cayman. And my dad really wanted to do this thing called, I think it's called Stingray Alley, and you go out in the middle of these reefs and you feed these stingrays, right? You guys, like this is how one movie can completely change your life, seriously. So we went out in the middle of this Stingray Alley or Stingray, I don't know what it's called, Stingray City is what it's called. And you go out there, they take you out in the middle, and it's like very shallow, but then like they feed these stingrays, and you just kind of sit there with your fins and whatever. And the boats are kind of like around. So you're like 30, 40 feet away from the boat. You swam like over these reefs. You know, and when you're underwater snorkeling, you really can't hear anything but like the water. And so it sounds very much like that, you know, in Jaws, like when you can hear the water and like the sharks underneath the water. So we go over there to Stingray City, and we're sitting there, and they start feeding these stingrays, and as soon as these stingrays come up and they're feeding them, if you guys have done it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you've been anywhere where you feed stingrays, they start flipping it out of the air, okay? And it looked like the scene to me, you guys are like, Peter, you're crazy. It looked like the scene to me when the little boy is on the raft in Jaws, and he gets eaten by the shark, and it's like all that flapping out there. I mean to tell you, I think it took me literally 3.2 seconds to get from Stingray City to the boat like that. I was terrified. I was like, no more, okay? Flash forward to my ex and I go to Las Vegas, and we're at Mandalay Bay, and they have this little shark. This is so embarrassing. They have this shark petting area, and they have these little tiger sharks that were like this big, and the water was like this deep. It was on the ground, and there's all these like kids, like 4 and 5 year olds, and they're like literally like petting these sharks, right? And I said to my ex, I said, I'm touching this shark. Like, I am not leaving here until I have touched a shark, right? And so you had to get down really low to like touch the shark. And so I get down, and I need to tell you, like, if this is a shark, I went like this. As soon as I hit the shark, okay? I mean, literally, I didn't press on it or anything. I just touched it just a little bit. The shark, like, moved, and as soon as it moved, I was like, okay, we're in the middle of this aquarium, okay, at Mandalay Bay. As soon as I hit the shark and it moved, I went, ah, like that, and I jumped back. Like, I don't know what I thought was gonna happen. This shark was gonna attack my neck or something like that. I am still to this day so terrified of sharks. Like, it stops me from really doing stuff. Several years ago, I used to go, and like a bunch of us that are like sober friends, we used to go rent a house in Lake Norris, Tennessee. I'll go on boats, I'll do all that kind of stuff, but like I have a really hard time getting in water. And that year, like I was like, I am not gonna miss out on my friends like swimming in a lake together. And so I finally, like the first night, like I just like went and I like just ran and jumped off the pier, and I was just like, okay, you have nothing to fear but fear yourself. There are no sharks in lakes or rivers, except, have you seen the movies? And there have been stories about how sharks, not freshwater, saltwater sharks, have gone upstream in rivers. This is a true story, okay? Like, I'm not making this up. I've done my research. This shit has happened, and it's really scary. And so, but that whole trip, like I made myself swim. You know, I go, I snorkel, I go way out in the ocean now. I really challenge myself. And once I get over the initial fear, I'm usually okay. We were in Miami in March. And my friend told me that it was the biggest migration of like sharks that they had ever seen in Miami at the time. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I got in the ocean like 4 times while we were there. And I never once saw a shark. I didn't see anything that looked like a shark. I wasn't scared. It was what it was. I get out there, I can't see the bottom, I'm crashing in the waves, I'm having a great time, I don't even think about it, right? So the next week we get back, and one of Alex's friends, this girl that we had gone to dinner with, she posted this video on Instagram, and he sent it to me. we sit in the same place when we go to South Beach. Like every time we go to South Beach, we always sit. It's like right in front of the hotel that we stay at. And we were sitting there, and she was right. I mean, you could see where she was. She was literally sitting in the exact same spot that we were. Walked down to the beach, and 5 feet out was like a 10-foot shark in the water. And I was like, oh my God, now I can never get in the ocean again in Miami. So it's interesting to me, I was just telling this story that, the reason I wanted to tell this story was because, it's interesting to me that a lot of those things that we're really terrified of, we're also fascinated by, And that, like, I'm somebody that is like, kind of, to some degree, very fascinated with fear. Like, I love watching scary movies. My husband and I both do. And, it's interesting, like, what makes us think of, like, fear things. Like, my husband is terrified of zombies. I could watch zombies all day long. I don't get scared of them. I love zombie books. I love zombie movies. I love The Walking Dead. I love all of that. If he comes in and he even sees a zombie on the TV, he like panics. He's like, turn this off. I don't want to see any zombies. And his has a lot to do with the way that, like, he grew up in Venezuela and he went to a couple funerals and the way that they do them there versus how they do them here. And, he's talked to me about that story. So it's interesting when you start thinking about, like, where do your fears come from and how do you overcome them? And, a lot of times it's just, step by step, like getting through those fears. But I'll tell you something, okay? Our pool is open. If I were to go down there tonight and swim in the pool, I would look at that light turned off and I would still see a shark eye. I would see Jaws all day long. So I just wanted to share a story with you guys today. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.